This is your AGA Northwest Coaches Meeting for November 1st, 2018. Hi everybody, happy Halloween. I just wanted to do, I know you guys are super crazy, so I didn't want to have to pull everybody in, and I just wanted it to be convenient for you so you can watch us at any time. We're gonna have a little bit of a review just to make sure that you understood everything we went over today. This is just some basic stuff that's going on at the gym and some updates that I wanna make you aware of. I want to first say that congratulations. I love the energy in the gym. Everybody is super positive. There's a great attitude. I love the vibe. For a gym that's only been open 2 months, we are getting our groove on. You guys are just systematic and you're doing a great job. So I wanted to point that out. I'm happy when I'm in the gym. I'm a big feelings person. So when I walk in there, I feel very happy. I feel like children are happy to be there and they're learning. So really, really good job on that. I think everybody's doing a great job. A couple of the reviews that I've gotten from parents regarding you guys and the gym, the good comments are the coaches are giving good positive feedback to the students. I think in this community, people are very big on positive feedback, and that's what you're doing and they're seeing it, so that's great. 30% of our students are enrolling in a second class. That means that they can't get enough of this. They're loving what you're doing, so I think that's huge. That's a huge indication that we're doing a really good job with them if they want to be there more often. So really, really good job for you guys. I also want to bring up a couple things. Parents will give me reviews on other programs and why they're choosing or hoping to come to our program and the complaints they have about other places. Class sizes are too large. That's something that we control. Of course, we are an 8-to-1 ratio if they're over 6. We're a 7-to-1 ratio if they're under 6. So I think that's hugely helpful in making sure the kids get enough skills and that you're also able to watch everyone and give everybody some feedback on how they're doing so that the groups aren't too big. A couple of the other complaints they've had about other programs is the lack of attention to detail, meaning the kids are just going through these huge obstacles. No one's stopping them and correcting them, recognizing when they're doing something wrong, maybe recognizing when they're doing something right. They're not breaking the skills down enough, and the kids they don't have skill attainment. And one of the things that I've noticed is people will come in and tell me their kid has been at the YMCA and not just that program or other programs, and they'll tell me they've been there for 4 years. And my first thought is like, okay, this kid's gonna come in with some really good base foundation of skills. And I've been very surprised that some of the kids coming in with years of gymnastics experience do not have basic skills. They don't have basic shaping. They haven't been stretching. They're not very strong. And so to me, it's like, well, what have they been doing over there? I sure as hope that if a child's in our program, for several months up to several years, that they're walking out of there with a good foundation of skills. So if they were to go anywhere else, people would know that they have, sorry, it's sitting on like a plant. So that they do have gymnastics experience. So I want to address that and make sure people are getting what they need and want when they come to our gym. And a couple ideas on how to make sure that those types of things don't happen here is I like using the 3 stages of teaching method. What you do is you take a skill and you break it down into 3 sections. And what it is, it's the start, positioning, action, it's the middle of the skill, and the finish of the skill. So for an example, if you're trying to teach a pullover, you don't just throw the kid over the bar, you wanna break it down into 3 sections. So they can start doing each one of those sections well so that when they start putting all of them together, the skill is gonna be done very well. And they also understand. So in a pullover, the first part of a pullover is getting their chin to the bar. So one station they could be doing is, this is the chin hold station. You want to hold your chin here. You can make it a game by who can hold their chin up the longest. Can you hold it up for 2 seconds, 10 seconds, 20 seconds, whatever it is, and then they're getting stronger. The second part of a pullover is that leg lift action. One of the bar stations could be leg lifts. And then the third is the shift to support position. So now you have 3 different bar stations, and maybe on the 4th bar, that's the bar that you're spotting the pullover on. But one of the biggest things is not that you're just breaking it down, is that they understand it. Children are super smart, and if you explain something to them, this is gonna start connecting with this. So if you don't take the time to teach them about those 3 stages and why each thing is important and what it's applying to, it's just going to go right out the window. They're just going to think they're doing a chin hold on one station and doing leg lifts over there. It becomes boring for them. Even though it's super important. I think with gymnastics, it's hard because you need those repetitions and they need to do all that strength stuff to get better. Most of the time, if they understand what it's applying to, it really helps. And it gets them more involved with learning the skill. It also allows children, when you do that, to feel good about themselves and feel like they are doing a part of the skill. Maybe a child has a really weak core, so the leg lift portion is really hard for her, but maybe she has a strong upper body and she's able to do a chin hold. So instead of her looking at the skill going, oh my gosh, I can't make this pullover, she might be like, hey, I'm super great at the chin hold, or I can shift to a support position. I just need to work on my leg lifts. So that's a more positive way of thinking, and her feeling successful. And when they feel successful in a little small area, it's going to entice them to keep working harder and feel good about learning the skill. I'd also like you guys to start incorporating the show and tell with your stations. As you know, every week we change the stations on all the events. There's pictures posted. I try to do a good job making sure that you understand this is, especially on vault. When they go over to the vault, the first thing is the straight jump onto the mat. And then when we start using the table, they start with a squat on. When they can do that, they do a straddle on, and then they do their pike on, and then they do their straight jump onto the vault. When you show them all those stages and you make them start at the beginning and make sure that that's a quality product or skill, then they can move on to the next one. That's really important because you want to hold that carrot there. Oh my gosh, this was so great, but if you got your knees together, I might let you go on to the next skill. So those are things that I want you guys to be doing. And then also doing the show and tell at the end of the rotation. So after your 15 or 20 minute vault rotation, I want you to go back to each one of those stations, have the kiddos sit down and have each person perform and demonstrate and give them some feedback and have the other kids give feedback as well. It's super helpful for children to watch their peers. You can point out things that one student is doing really well, and then when you correct that student and the other students are watching, they have the opportunity to learn from that also. So I think it's really important to stop sometimes and just individually go through. I definitely like how fast and the movement of our stations, but I think sometimes we forget to stop and go, okay, everybody stop and listen. This is how this is done. That also makes the kids feel really good. Some of them might be apprehensive to show things because they feel embarrassed. Just keep it positive. Hey, you're doing great. Your foot is in the right spot. We just need to get our feet together over here, whatever the correction may be. I also want you guys to be giving stickers for making corrections. If you ask a child to get their arms up and squeeze their ears and they do it, make that a big deal. Make it exciting for them to make those corrections instead of blowing you off, because at the end of the day, them squeezing their ears might be the difference between them getting the skill or not. So what you want them to do is be excited about making little tiny corrections. So giving stickers for making corrections. I also got a bell for you guys. It's a dinner bell, and they have to hit it pretty hard, and I'll find a place to put it in the gym, but I want to use that for new skills. We've always had a bell in our other gyms. Whenever a kid gets a new skill, we kind of make a little announcement, maybe even just to the group, like, hey, everybody, Bella just learned her cartwheel on the line on the floor. She's going to ring the bell and everybody claps for her. I like that positive reinforcement and making a big deal about kids learning new things. I think that will help some of the complaints and the problems that are happening in other programs around us. So I definitely think that will help. So that's kind of the parent review and feedback and how I think we can attack those types of things and their concerns. Things that I've noticed and that I think we need to work on. I'm going to start with the Mighty Tumbler program. We are definitely racing through the setups, and that age group is really difficult to keep their attention, but I don't think we're doing a good enough job making them go back and repeat stuff. If you're having them do a forward roll down the wedge, the 3 stages of that are the squat, the tuck the head and roll, and the stand-up finish. If they're not doing all 3 of those things, you should be asking them to go back. Uh-oh, you didn't show me your squat position. What's a squat? And be very verbal with them. Okay, when you forward roll, you have to stand up and say ta-da, and making them engage with you verbally by saying ta-da will help them remember that step. They're 3 to 5 years old. They're not going to remember to stand up and squeeze their ears. But if they say ta-da, that's exciting. And then same thing, if they do a really good job, give them a sticker or a stamp. Stickers on Mighty Tumblers can be distracting, so maybe stamps is a little bit better. But if you take them back and start making those little things quality, I think that will help. There's also things like when we're walking across the beams, are their arms in airplane arms? If they're not, make them go back. Just, start over. I want to see you flying with your airplane arms. If they're doing that, it's super easy. Oh my gosh, you're so amazing. Why don't you try doing sidewalks? And if they can do sidewalks, you're so amazing. You obviously need to go backwards. If they can go backwards, have them go backwards on tiptoes. So start making start creating that environment for them. I know they're young, but if you just let them go through the setup, there's no difference between them going to the park and going down the slide as opposed to coming to gymnastics. And I want them leaving there having a good foundation of skills. So I think it's important for you guys to go over the curriculum that we have and just make sure that they understand and know what those things are. Do they know what a straddle position is? Can they do a jumping jack? Can they hop on one foot? Can they hop on one foot on the beam? Can they balance forward, backward, and sideways? Can they follow directions? Are they able to do a forward roll, backward roll, the beginning parts of a handstand? Can they go upside down? Can they limber forward and backward? Can they jump down the trampoline and do shapes in the air? So it's just, I want you guys to start taking a little bit more time instead of just letting them go through the setup. Oh, they're jumping down the trampoline again. Use a piece of chalk, start drawing stuff on the trampoline. Make an X, make a circle, make a heart. Okay, so when you see the X, you're gonna do a straight jump. When you see the circle, you're gonna do a tuck jump. And when you see the heart, you're gonna do a C drop. And so that does two things. It's getting them to understand their shapes and doing the shapes and the positions and skills. It's also making them think about what they have to do when they're up there. And also it's not just them busting down the trampoline, as fast as they can. So I would like you guys to take a little bit more time to do that. You got to get creative. I love chalk. Please do not write with chalk on the carpet bonded foam, the flooring that we have. It never comes off. No matter how much you vacuum over something, that chalk, if you write a word on there, it's on there for life. But the trampoline, it wipes off. On mats, it wipes off. And be careful leaving chalk around because children will pick it up and draw on things themselves. So to keep that in mind. And one of the things for Mighty Tumblers as well as Stars and Champs, I have a saying, you must adjust. Meaning every child in that group, even if they're the same level, are all on different pages. Meaning this kid might be a level 2 and technically all of them have a cartwheel. They might have little problems with that cartwheel and you have to go back and work on the upside down position, or maybe they can do a forward roll but they can't stand up very well, or maybe this kid can do a forward roll and it's amazing. Why is she still on the wedge? So what I want you to do is, if you have 5 kids in your group and some of them are struggling to get the squat, the roll, and the ta-da, but there's one kid who's already doing that perfectly, do something else, meaning put something between their feet, like a beanbag. Okay, now can you do this forward roll or this backward roll with the beanbag between your feet? Because you're so good, you need more of a challenge. So start asking, looking at the kids, like, where do they need a challenge? I think in Mighty Tumblers, everyone just assumes, oh, they're 3 to 5 years old. They're really young. They're not gonna be able to do these things. They're incredibly good. So if their tabletop's really good, start working on a back bend. If their forward roll down the wedge is good, take the wedge out, put something between their feet, make it more difficult for them. Have them do 2 in a row. Because what you're doing at that point is now not only just challenging that child, the rest of the kids in the group see the progressions. Like, well, I want to do 2 in a row. I want to put a beanbag between my feet. And then what you say is, well, when you start saying ta-da at the end of your forward roll, then I'll let you do those things, but not until then. So that's that carrot there. I want to make sure we're not overlooking the Mighty Tumblers because they're young. I'm a huge advocate of moving kids up to like a preteen program that are 5 years old, and those kids can climb the rope without the use of their legs. They can jump rope, they can do a back bend kick over. So don't underestimate the little ones. Use common sense in that way. A 3-year-old who's having a hard time remembering their name is going to be on a little bit of a different level than a 5-year-old who's ready for some one-arm cartwheels. But your job as a coach is to make sure that you're recognizing those differences and making those, you must adjust in your classes. So keep that in mind. Also, with the Mighty Tumblers, I think we've kind of missed the mark on the verbiage, which we're doing a really good job with in the Stars and Champs program. Stars and Champions every week are getting homework, and they love it. They love going home and practicing. We give them a little breakdown of each skill. It gets them to know what they should be practicing at home, what they can be doing at home. They're only in there for 60 minutes a week if they're taking one class. So, you know, they're not getting a ton of practice, and there's so many skills in gymnastics. That's why we're making the YouTube videos and sending home homework and doing review the next week. I think we're missing that in the Mighty Tumbler program because Mighty Tumblers really can't read yet. Now you're relying on, if you do homework with them, you're relying on making sure the parent works with them. Some people, they've worked all day. They just want to hang out when they go at home. They have food to cook. People are busy. But I do want to do kind of the same thing. So what we're going to be doing now is called Spotlight Skills. The Spotlight skill is going to be the exact, like a lesser version of whatever the homework skill is. For example, if the homework skill for Stars and Champions are, you know, is standing backbends or backbend kickovers, the Spotlight skill for a Mighty Tumbler is going to be a tabletop. So what we're going to do is wherever, when in the setups, wherever you see a circle, like a, you know, one of those circle spot markers or a star that we have, that will be the Spotlight skill of the week. So in a setup, if you're going to 3 different stations, you're going to your beam setup, your tramp setup, and your bar setup, all 3 of those are going to have that Spotlight skill in there. You just have to look for it in the setup and start training them. Okay, you guys, this week your Spotlight skill is the tabletop. Everybody go over to the, you know, show me your tabletop. When you see the star, you need to stop and do your tabletop on top of here. Then at the end of class, do it again. Everybody show me your Spotlight skill. Then we'll have a little paper that says Spotlight skill and a little, like, you know, whatever it is that will help them with the verbiage of what they're supposed to be doing and making sure that you're staying on track with the skills in the curriculum. So just like I post the homework, I will post the Spotlight skills and have that homework Spotlight skill paper for them to take home at the end of their class. That should help. Couple of the things for Stars and Champions. Okay, a couple of the things that are coming up in November. We have a newsletter that I send out to all the families, mostly just to let them know what's coming up in the program. We are closed this November on the 22nd and the 23rd. That's obviously Thanksgiving. Most of you don't work Friday the 23rd, so it's just the 22nd. So don't come to work on Thursday the 22nd. Enjoy time with your families. I'm sure all of our kiddos are going to be doing that as well. One of the things I like to do in November is to create what I'm thankful for sheets, and we actually post them in the gym. So whenever you go to like a grocery store and they're doing some kind of promotion where you can buy a heart and write your name on it, that's kind of the same thing. So the week of, and I'll remind you of this, the second week of November, so when we get into the 11th through the 15th, we're going to, at the end of class, instead of doing the skill review, what we're going to do is do what we're thankful for sheets. And I like the kiddos, if they're little kids, you're going to have to help them. The Mighty Tumblers, you're probably going to have to help them write what they're thankful for and teach them what that means. And then for the older kids, they can write it themselves and just go over, you know, how blessed we are to have all the things that we have. It's a good reminder for children to feel like they're very lucky and fortunate to be able to do gymnastics, and their families love them and all that good stuff. So on that paper, you're going to ask them what they're thankful for. It could be anything. It could be, I'm thankful for my dog. I'm thankful for, you know, my friends, or pizza, whatever the funny things they say, they're going to write down, and I will, you'll return those, or you'll put those on my desk, and I'll post them in the gym so people can walk by and just, it's a good feel good thing for Thanksgiving. The homework skills coming up for this week. The first week of November is going to be cartwheel week. I will give you those homework sheets, of course. We'll make the video. I think the Spotlight skill for cartwheel week will be a straddle. Since they do a straddle position in the cartwheel, the Mighty Tumbler Spotlight skill, instead of the homework skill, their Spotlight skill will be a straddle position. So when you see those dots or the stars, they're going to sit in the straddle and put their arms up or touch their toes, however you want them to do it, because those kind of coincide together. The second week, or the week of the 11th is going to be push-up week. So we're going to go through the stages of starting on your knees and going all the way, doing an elevated push-up all the way to a really good push-up. Keep in mind, I prefer in the gym not to do a wide arm push-up first. Eventually we'll get into that, but to do a close arm push-up. So keep that in mind, and I'll make that video and send it to you. And of course, a push-up hold is going to be our spotlight skill for the little mighty tumblers. And then the third skill of the month of November is going to be straddle jump week. And little kids can do that. So straddle jump on the spotlight skill is going to be a straddle jump, as well as for the Stars and Champions. These are also things that can be done in flip zone. Cartwheels are done in flip zone. Push-ups are done in flip zone. Straddle jumps are done in flip zone. So all of that stuff is really important. So the week of the 4th is cartwheel week. The week of the 11th is push-up week. And the week of the 18th is straddle jump week. That is also Thanksgiving, the Thanksgiving week. Also a reminder, the class kiddos are welcome to sign up for photographs, like little gymnastics photographs that we all have on our mantle. They're awesome. So make sure that, and those make for really, really good Christmas gifts. So I personally, my daughter will be getting those done, and we'll be handing them out to grandma and grandpa and all that good stuff. So that's happening on the 16th, as well as our staff photo that I would like you guys to do with me. And then I'm going to be getting us little Santa hats so we can wear that in the staff photo, and that will go out in our Christmas card. So last but not least, we have in November coming up what we call Skill Review Week. I'm very conscious about your lesson plans, and your stations for every week are straight off of the curriculum. But sometimes we need to just back up and just do the skills, because they're going to be tested in December on these skills. So Skill Review Week is not very fun for the kiddos, because what I'm expecting you guys to do is to go over each skill and go one by one on each event. So when you get to beam, you will separate the level 1s and 2s in your group and say, level 1s on this beam, you're doing a knee scale. Level 2s on this beam, you're doing, a pike sit. And just go through and make sure they know exactly what everything is. We're trying to have good form here, because in December, we're actually going to be testing them, and it is their opportunity to get the next color band and move up to the next level. And to give you some insight, after this evaluation that they're doing, their assessment, in December, I'm going to start picking out some kiddos, and I would like your input on that as well for our preteen program, because we're going to be doing tryouts in March. It's our mid-season, what I call our mid-season move up. So in March, what we're going to be doing is hosting a tryout. We'll invite certain kids to come. We'll put them through a series of Okay, so skill review, we want to make sure that those kiddos are very knowledgeable on what they need to do. And if they need practice on something that week, the week of the 25th of November, that week is a really good time to sit them down and be like, hey, you have a great forward roll, you have your split jump looks good, but maybe at home we could work the handstand a little bit more. You're still getting confused on a couple things. That's your time to make it very personal for them, so they know exactly what to expect for evaluations. I've noticed that, when kids feel like they don't know what they're going to be tested on, they get very, very nervous. And this is not a pass or fail. This is just a progress, testing to make sure that they're doing what they should be doing, and they're learning what they should be learning and progressing through our curriculum, as well as if you guys are making sure that your job, you're doing your job properly. A lot of our kiddos are level 1s, and level 1 in our program is pretty simple. So let's just make sure they're doing those skills well, because those kiddos that, we see some potential in them. They have a really good attitude. They're eager to learn. They might be, have a good talent base physically. That's not the only thing we're looking for. Most of the time, if a kid has a good attitude and she just wants to learn, we'll put them on team. I think there's a place for everyone to compete. So this is not just for some superstar, gymnast. I'm looking for really good kids who just love the sport, So when we do tryouts, I really would like to see a good foundation of base skills. I'm going to be testing them on level 1 and 2 skills in the program. And if they're all sloppy or willy-nilly and they just don't look like they've been trained well, that's going to be a reflection on your coaching. So I want you to keep that in mind. And then when you're going through this stuff, keep reminding them it's really important to be, keeping your legs straight, pointing your toes, holding your belly in, your arms need to be straight. These are all things that are very simple corrections. And when you use stickers to reinforce, or high fives or whatever, make them, the student of the day, when you use those things to point out those little corrections, they're going to start doing it better. So I just want you to keep that in mind. We'll do a follow-up video on how their evaluations are going to go in December. So generally in December, I'm going to do the testing the second and third week. So the fourth week, I haven't really decided yet. I think the first and second week we'll do testing, and then the third week will be the ceremony. At the very end, they'll all get a ribbon for participating, and if they moved up a level, then they get the next level band. So everybody gets something for participating, because everybody is, trying and they're doing a great job. But if they happen to pass the level, awesome, they get that band. And also the parents will get a certificate emailed to them. I try really hard not to print out a whole bunch of stuff. If I printed out everybody's evaluation and a certificate, that's just a lot of paper. It ends up being 2 or 3, sometimes 4 sheets per child. So we really try to cut down on that. And it's a good thing. If the parents want to print it out at home, that's awesome. If not, they have it in their records, and that also coincides with their levels in our system. So anyways, think you guys are doing a great job. Let's get real creative. I want you guys to bring your creative juices to classes. If you see that something's not working or something's not set up well, or the kids are just rifling through it, figure out how it's going to challenge them more. Just take a step back and go, okay, how can I make this better? If this kid's just running through the course, or she's flinging herself all over the place, how do I get her to pay attention to detail? And that is up to you. It's not up to them. If they're bored, it's because you're not challenging them enough. So keep that in mind. You must adjust. And then keep in mind the 3 stages of teaching: the start positions and shapes, the middle of the skill, as well as the end of the skill. I think you guys are amazing and fantastic, and I've seen you guys grow as teachers over the past couple weeks, and I could not be more proud. If you have questions on how to spot skills, maybe what a problem is with a skill, a child, maybe they're facing some issues, please ask me. I would be more than happy to come over and explain it to you. Also, if you want something demonstrated really well, I am a huge advocate of using one of our team kids. So if you need a back bend kickover shown with beautifully straight legs, say, hey, Nicole, is there somebody you can lend me for a second so I can show the kids what this is supposed to look like? I'm a huge fan of that. So we have team kids in there every evening, so that's not very difficult. And then you can utilize them as this is what it's supposed to look like. And you can also ask the team kid to do it poorly. Hey, this is what it looks like when it's done wrong, and then have her do it the correct way. Demonstrating is huge, and then it makes the team kids feel really good too. So keep up the good work. I'm really proud of you guys. There's going to be a follow-up little review sheet for you guys to fill out, just to make sure that you understand everything that I went through today. Otherwise, let me know how we can improve our program, and we can work on making it better. Love you guys. Thanks. Okay, so a couple things for the Mighty Tumbler coaches. I'm going over some of my notes that I've had for a long time, and things that 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds should do. And I just want to list those things because these are things that you should be doing throughout your setups in the Mighty Tumbler stations, as well as your warm-ups. They need to know their body parts. So a really fun way of doing that is Simon Says. Simon Says, touch your nose, touch your shoulders, touch your chin, touch your chest, because when you're telling them to tuck their head in for a forward roll, you want them to put their chin on their chest. So they need to know what these places are, where their ears are, because if you're asking them to squeeze their ears with their arms, they need to know what all of those things are. So a really good thing to do in warm-ups is go over body parts, knees, ankles. Also, little kids have a lot of times have a hard time telling you if something hurts and how to describe that. And sometimes it's because they don't know what it's called and they don't know how to express that. So it's really important. A couple other things are they need to be able to walk up and down stairs, alternating feet. You'll notice that some kids just keep taking a step up the stairs or down the stairs with the same foot. That's usually the dominant foot that they prefer, like their cartwheel foot. But you need to be paying attention when we have our setups. Are they just walking up the, up the mats or across the beam using one foot? If they are, you need to go back and make sure that they're taking a step, that they're developing both of those sides. They need to be able to kick, throw, and catch a ball. And I know that doesn't really have a lot to do with gymnastics, but eye-hand coordination and being able to know how to use their body, because the throwing action is actually something that later in gymnastics is important. So start developing in that now. You can also do that in warm-ups. Okay, you stand over here, I stand over here, and you're going to throw the ball to me and I'm going to throw it back to you. We have plenty of balls in the gym. They need to know how to climb. So every opportunity that you can, try to get them to climb up on stuff. That's why sometimes we deal with height changes in the gym. We stack up mats and all that stuff. Hop and stand on one foot for up to 5 seconds. So in warm-up, stand on your left foot, stand on your right foot, and then we're gonna count. You can count backwards, you can count in a different language, Spanish, whatever it is. So they're developing a lot of things at the same time. And then bending over without falling. So in warm-ups, you wanna make sure that they're able to reach up and touch their toes and they're not falling over doing so. A few other things for Mighty Tumblers. One of the things is they need to, we already went over their body parts, but they also need to know their colors and their shapes. So a fun thing to do is have them stand on the floor for warm-ups and say, okay, now what I want you to do is run over and touch something red. So they have to find something on the floor and touch it. You might have to show them and go with them, run and touch a mat that's red, and then start escalating that into having them touch a body part on a color. For example, okay, now I want you to touch something that's green with your elbow. So they have to utilize 2 of those, and then once they touch it, they come back. So that's recall there as well. And we're trying to get them ready for kindergarten. So they need to know their alphabet. So in the beginning, singing their ABCs while you're rolling your wrists out or rolling your ankles out is helpful. Getting them to learn how to spell their name. So you can also start doing that stuff during the rotation. So when you get to the forward roll mat, on the floor station, before you do your forward roll and we reach up and we squat, we're gonna spell our name together. And so if it's Bailey, once Bailey gets over to the forward roll mat, you're gonna say, okay, Bailey, before we do our forward roll, we're gonna repeat after me, B-A-I-L-E-Y, however she spells her name. Make sure you're paying attention on the attendance app. And then we'll stretch up, squat down, do our forward roll, ta-da. So that we're getting those kiddos ready and prepared for kindergarten. This is all pre-kindergarten stuff. So that's important as well. Excuse me. Another couple things for Mighty Tumblers. When we're starting the color game that I was talking, or not the color game, but them going through the gym and finding a mat that's red, you can also tell them, okay, I want you to touch 2 different things that are red. So not only do they have to touch one mat, they have to touch 2 things that are red. And then also incorporating skipping and hopping on one foot. So you can say, all right, I want you to hop like a bunny with 2 feet all the way over to something that's purple. You can also say, I want you to go touch something that's a circle. So we're working those shapes. So you really have to start incorporating that stuff with them and getting them to think. Also, we have if you have a class that has like more than 3 kiddos, usually it requires about 4, the teacher and either 3 kids or 4 kids total. We do have a parachute and it's got colors on it. So if you're shaking the parachute and you say, okay, Liam, I want you to go in the center and find the yellow strip and do a squat on the yellow strip. So he has to go into the parachute, squat down on the yellow strip, and then he comes back. Okay, Bailey, now I want you to find the purple section and do a straddle sit on the purple section. So those are all different ways that you can incorporate colors and positions in their warm-up. Okay, for stars and champs, as far as warm-ups go, what you want to do is warm them up. It's starting to get cold outside, so a lot of movement is helpful. What you want to do is, I want to give you a couple suggestions. If we're not using the trampoline as a rotation that day, you're welcome to use the tramp as like a warm-up circuit. What I don't like when you guys use the tramp is you don't have return stations. So there's some things that you can do when you have them jumping down the tramp. Make sure you're changing up what they're doing. They're not just doing straight jumps the whole time. You can do straight jump, tuck jump, straddle jump, split jump, pike jump, jump full turn, seat drop. So that's a lot of different things. Change it up every single turn, and have a leader. You know, if Lily is leading the group, okay, Lily, this first time you're going to do straight jumps, and then when Lily gets back around, okay, Lily, change it to tuck jumps. Pick a child that is not brand new and seems to know those shapes and positions. If she doesn't, just go over it with her, no big deal. But on the return station, you have the trampoline to use on the way back, so they can do a push-up position with their hands on the tramp and do, you know, where they're moving their hands to the side, and then they switch halfway through and put their feet up on the tramp, and then they have to do push-up crawls all the way across. So it's making them work their body. You can have them do multiple forward rolls in a row. You can have them do straight jumps, high knees, butt kicks, but you have to be able to watch both stations, because if they're not doing that stuff properly, it's not going to work, and they're just running through the motions. Again, have them go back and fix it. Okay, I said high knees. Your knees need to come up, you know, to here to my hands. Try to get your knees to touch my hands and put your hands out in front of them. And then butt kicks, your heels should be hitting your booty. So that's a good warm up. We also have sharks and minnows. So you'll pick a couple sharks to stand in the middle of the floor. The minnows will stand off to the side. And what the sharks are trying to do is tag the minnow. Please remind them this is not a shoving game. We want everybody to be safe. So the minnows, you can say, okay, if you're 9 years old, it's time to run across the floor. And the minnow's job is to try to get across to the other side of the floor without the shark touching them. If the shark touches them, then there has to be some kind of repercussion, like, okay, now you have to go over and do 25 jumping jacks and then get back in line. You don't want them sitting out, because the whole goal is to keep moving, but you do want there to be, like, you know, some kind of repercussion for them getting caught by the shark. Also switch out your minnows and sharks. So if Lily and Bailey are in the center of the floor, okay, we're gonna do this a couple times. If you're wearing red, run across the floor. If you're in the 4th grade, run across the floor. If you have a dog, run across the floor. So you're changing up, it could be anything. After you do that a couple times, okay, Lily and Bailey, you guys are minnows, and then pull Kylie and Michelle in the center, and then you're switching it up that way. So, that is sharks and minnows. The slap game, we did this a couple weeks ago, where they start with their arms out to the side, and when you clap once, they drop their arms. When you clap twice, they're supposed to freeze. If they show any kind of movement when you clap twice, then they have to hold a push-up position until you've gone through the whole thing. And the kid who wins at the end and has their arms up the longest, or if there's 2 kids, then what you want to do is give them a sticker. And you can play that several times, and also make it hard on them where they have to close their eyes and they can't see you. And then Simon Says, it's a very basic game, but the cool thing is you can start doing that with positions. Like Simon Says, do a push-up hold. Simon Says, do your left leg splits. And be careful, if they don't know their right and left, you have to be able to catch them on that. So no, that's not your left leg. You're out. Now go sit in the splits over here, or do your jumping jacks and get back in the game. These games and these warm-up games are not to get people out necessarily. It's to keep them moving, but you do want there to be some kind of, you know, extra thing they have to do if they don't do it correctly. So positions are really good. Do a knee scale, do a tuck sit, a V-sit, do a straddle, do a lunge position. There's so many things. Just go off of the curriculum board that's posted on the wall. You can also use body parts like you would for little kids, but make it harder. Simon Says, touch your hamstrings. See if they know where those are, or your calf muscles, or your quads, or the ball of your foot. Simon Says, touch your oblique muscles. Simon Says, touch your lats, touch your traps. So you're making those a little bit more difficult instead of just touch your arm. What part of their arm? Touch your forearm, so that they're learning that as well. I also like incorporating music. There's something called what I call the chorus run. You set up the 4 corners. You know, the sticks in the the cones in the 4 corners, and you have them run. I'm not a huge fan of just making kids run. That's really boring. Put a song on that has like a really catchy, upbeat tempo, and then when the chorus comes in, they have to do something. For example, if you were to use Gangnam Style, and I'll play it in a second, when he says when he goes into the chorus part, that's when you would yell out, okay, freeze, jumping jacks, until he's done with the chorus, and then they continue running. And the next time the chorus comes around, you can either do jumping jacks again, or you can do frog jumps, and you can change it up that way. So you're getting about 4 to 5 minutes of them running, but having to listen. You're also incorporating music, so it makes it a little bit more fun. So I'll use this as an example. So they're running this point, they're running. And then you would have them freeze. And during this part, it would be jumping jacks, jumping jacks, jumping jacks the whole time. You would go through the entire thing. And then once the song continues and that part is over, they continue running. You can also do the same thing as a freeze dance. So they're running around the floor, and then you can stop the music. And once the music stops, they have to listen. They have to do whatever shape or position you call out. So if you're like, all right, lunge, if they don't know what a lunge position is because they're new, just make sure you're going over that. And it's just a good way to get them through those shapes and positions, incorporating music, and it's fun for them.